readers, my name is Medallio and I am back with another book review. And this time, I had the opportunity to review the second book in the Voronkov Russian Mafia duology called Kings of Cruelty by Raissa Donovan and Addison. Now, I already did a review for Kings of Violence. If you want to scurry on over there in my book reviews playlist, I highly recommend it. It's a great book. Question to the readers. So my question is, who is your favorite book, morally gray man or men, and are they redeemable? So my favorites are Killian, Dimitri, and Tristan from the Lords of Forsyth University trilogy. And I also have a soft spot for the men of Den and Vipers. Come for me, I don't care. Leave a comment on your favorites. But I have to say, Diesel got me. I do like him. Spice level. I gave this 4 peppers because there's a lot of smack scenes, similar to the amount of scenes that we got in Kings of Violence, and it's not a slow burn. I think that the scenes were also described really well. But my favorite part about this second book is that we get to see Sierra more into it. She's actually like seeking these guys out when she's feeling it, you know. Star rating. I gave this 4 stars, just like I gave Kings of Violence. I think it was an outstanding plot. It really took me into the story. I mean, we started off where we left off, so I was already living for that cliffhanger. So, really great. Summary. So, this story starts off where Kings of Violence left off with Sierra getting shot in the chest. And now we're finding Sierra. She's in the hospital. I think Nikolai's with her, but she's not there for very long. Well, actually, no. All the guys are with her. Everybody, even her brother and Silvano, they're all in this room with her. And that's when they all find out that she is indeed pregnant. Knowing that she's pregnant now, she's experiencing even more uncertainty because she just doesn't know what's going to happen to her. She knows she can't escape. There's no way out of this situation now. A lot happens in this book, especially with the Ruffin. A lot happens in this book, especially with the Russian Mafia politics. But I think that the one thing that this book really zeroes in on and goes hard with it is the fact that these men, Yuri, Nikolai, and Konstantin, they have all been traumatized by a male figure in their lives.
Traumatized, but not so traumatized.
I think that if you compare this duology with the Julio, Damien, and Slayer trilogy for Vanessa's story, you'll see that Konstantin, Yuri, and Nikolai, they're just as morally gray. I really think so. However, I personally think after reading the second book in this duology, Kings of Cruelty, that Konstantin, Nikolai, and Yuri are redeemable. And here's why. Okay, so I said that these guys have been traumatized by the men or the male figures in their lives. Konstantin, his issue is that he is trying to live up to his father's impossible expectations, and it's basically torturing him on the inside. Nikolai, his father is constantly disappointed in him, and he never falters in that scenario. He even tells his son to get out, and you're thinking, oh, that's really nice of him, his dad cares. I think Nikolai even thought maybe he does care about me, and no, his father just wanted to amplify the fact that he thinks that his son is a failure, and that if he leaves, that'll just basically be the icing on the cake for his dad to be like, I was right. And then Yuri, I think Yuri is an outlier because we don't really know much about his background because he was a bit of an orphan. He lives on the streets, and then he worked for Konstantin's father, and he uses Konstantin's father as someone to look up to until he met Konstantin and worked with him and realized that no, there are better men out there. Sierra, I think hers is actually like the saddest part is that she was so sheltered as a girl in her dad's business and in that particular family. that she didn't see the bad things and she was sheltered to them. So everything that she's going through now is a bit of a shock to her. I just thought that was like the sadder thing. And then now that she's living with these men, she's realizing that maybe her dad wasn't the guy that she thought he was.
Mafia thing.
I think that their character growth happens in such an unusual way. I think with reverse harems, you usually have character growth where everybody has their individual epiphanies and then they all come together and have a big light bulb moment. But I think that with this book, everybody had an epiphany when they were together. They were all like, wait a minute, this is going to work. And I think that them supporting each other leads to the growth that we needed to get to the end with the happily ever after for these characters. Character analysis. I'm going to pull from my previous review from Kings of Violence with some little aspects of the characters because some of parts of their characteristics have not changed. Sierra. She is a firecracker mafia princess. She does go through a rough patch when she finds out that she's pregnant and she's like uncertain about these guys, especially because she starts to fall for them and she starts cracking these morally gray men open, and that makes her fall for them even more. And then we have this really great moment where she and her brother Kieran finally come together and have it out where they're both able to say the things that they haven't been able to say to each other. Like, why is Sierra so angry with him? Why does she hate the fact that he's gay? I honestly didn't particularly enjoy the language that she used in Kings of Violence when she was talking about her brother being gay. And it really sounded kind of like borderline homophobia. And I was like, that's strange, but I'll keep reading. And then we get to Kings of Cruelty, and we get more information as to why Sierra is really mad at him, and it has nothing to do with him being gay. It has everything to do with the fact that Sierra was in that house that night with her mother when these Russian Mafia men invaded their home, took her, and violated her. That's why she's upset. She's upset because her brother wasn't there to protect them. I think that was beautifully done and well said. And I was like, okay, this makes sense. Nikolai. He's still confused about his feelings with Constantine, and now he's confused for his feelings with Yuri. It's just so great. I love a good MMF. I love it. But he does agree to be more adventurous, especially when Sierra is encouraging it. He does have these moments, though, when he has like these minor thoughts, like these minor setback thoughts when it comes to Sierra being pregnant and him being, them all saying, this is Constantine's baby, regardless of who fathered it. It's going to be his child. He's going to raise it. And Nikolai is kind of questioning that a little bit in his head, like where he's thinking, it's never going to be mine, even if it biologically is. Yuri, he loves Constantine and Sierra fiercely, and then he just tolerates Nikolai until Constantine finally lets go of the indoctrinated morals and ideals that he grew up with because of his father, and he just lets go, and he finally is able to show Yuri the love that he actually has been feeling for him. It's beautiful. It really is. I loved it. Constantine. I think that I fall more and more for Constantine. I really love his dynamic with Sierra. I don't know, there's some parts to him that I just find so endearing. But Constantine is their leader, and he's extremely stressed because of the impossible expectations that his father has for him that he is never going to live up to until he decides, you know what? This isn't where I want to be. This isn't what I want to do. So let's stage a coup. And that was great. Conflict. So I think that there are two specific conflicts in this. One is when Constantine decides to get into a shady business trade that his father is pushing him into, or pushing their business into. But I think the best part about that is that we run into Julio. I have such a soft spot for these guys, for the guys from the Vanessa story. Oh, I loved it. I love that we got to see Julio, we got to see Vanessa. I loved it. And it ended up being really beneficial for Constantine and his men at the end of the story. The downside of that is that when Constantine meets up with Julio, Sierra is there, and she puts two and two together, and she finds out what Constantine is being pushed into. And he feels like at this point he has absolutely no choice. The way Sierra finds out made me uncomfortable. I felt so bad for her, and she was just falling for this guy. And to find out that he wants to enter into a trade that is the opposite of who she is and what she stands for, she was angry, and rightfully so. And Constantine said some really terrible and messed up things to her when she confronted him, and I really don't think that we ever really got an apology from him. The second conflict in the story is when Constantine decides to stand up for himself and for his business, and he decides to stage that coup against his father. And I was rooting for him. I was standing up, cheering. I was here for it. Conclusion. In conclusion, there are some really high action and very high stress-induced situations in this book, and it really reels you in. It does take a second to get there, but I think that the things that we had to read before leading up to it really made a difference for the story. I love that this book does not go through the stages of pregnancy. I've read it in so many others. I don't need to read it in this one. I'm glad they didn't do that. I'm glad we got to her having a little bit of a bump, and then we got to the end. That's perfect. Perfect. I love the fact, again, that we got to see Vanessa and Julio. I would not be upset if we got another book from them, maybe a novella, maybe a scene. Raissa, Addison. I'm just saying. I also think that's amazing that Sierra and her men got their happily ever after. I think it was worth it. It was a really good story to read. Recommendation. I recommend that you read the Voronkov, I hope I'm saying it right, I really do. The Voronkov Duology, Kings of Violence, Kings of Cruelty by Raissa, Donovan, and Addison Wolf. It's a great book. Highly recommend it. If you like my videos, please like, comment, and subscribe. I cannot wait to find out who your morally gray men are. Thank you so much. Bye.